People always told me I was beautiful. Every time I walked through the market, heads turned. Men tripped over themselves just to say hello, and jealous stares were thrown from every direction from every woman I passed. Yet, I still felt as if I could be better, more beautiful, perfect. I spent years trying to keep up with fashions and society of the uppermost class, making sure to keep a higher status from anyone else. But in the background, I knew these girls would try to overthrow me from my higher status. I knew I needed to find some sort of special potion or antidote that would make it impossible for any woman to outshine me. The only shop in town that would have some odd books that might be of use to me was the worn-down house on 2nd Street. The place was very dark. Not one light shone from the musty windows of the store, and no one has yet to see a living being go in and out besides the strange old man who owns it. From all the gossip of the old place, I knew to ignore it, but if I were ever to accomplish my goal, I needed to push past the false talk. I came into the shop with an assurance of myself that I would be fine, but the thoughts slowly started to fade as I looked around the store. My eyes grazed upon multiple ceiling-high stacks of books and old newspaper. A noise was brought to my attention, to the outdated cash register, to see an old man looking back at me. The old man managed to creak out a whisper.
Can I help you?
It shocked me at first. I didn't expect him to even be able to speak. I couldn't help but look into his very gray eyes. Something, as if it were a secret, were withheld within them. I started for a moment and realized I hadn't answered him yet. Yes, I'm looking for a spell or potion for beauty. I started while I spoke. Something else was here besides me and the old man. He spoke. Witchery is what you are into? Well, it seems I have just the thing. He turned from me towards the back door, expecting me to follow him. He opened the door and went inside. For a moment later, so did I. It was dark, and I couldn't feel a thing. The smell of books had disappeared and turned to a floral scent of different flowers. It seemed like a wooden shack. The old man spoke almost scary, even. There is a side effect. You may experience some urges of a dark passion. Confused, I agreed, not knowing what the consequences were to come. The man started speaking louder and louder, but not at me. He was just speaking. He was chanting in a different language I've never heard of. Wind started to pick up, whisking at my dress and cloak around me. As the wind started to pick up, I was floating, being lifted up in midair. My skin started to peel off my body. My hair flew out in chunks. My face was twisting in weird directions. The last thing I saw was the old man smiling back at me. Hi, my name is Lucy. People always say I'm really pretty, but I think beauty is not really that important. I think people should work on being nice to and helping others. My usual day is going to school, then coming home, doing my homework, eat, sleep, and then it starts all over again. It's the same system, nothing new.
However, today my mom couldn't pick me up for school. I walked home instead. I walked out of school and looked down at the sidewalk. What I saw was a doll. The doll was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I felt sad for the poor doll. I picked the strange doll up and examined it. As I got closer to my face, it looked as if its frown turned into a big smile. I liked the doll, and I took it home. That's when the strange things started to happen. Ever since I brought the strange doll home, my favorite things started to go missing, and horrible occurrences were happening that always seemed to be pointed at my parents. I couldn't understand it. Something was wrong with that doll, and I was determined to find it out. But it seemed as if the doll knew I was coming close to her secret. I was too dumb to realize that not only had I took action, but she had also. The screams of my parents, which were coming from the basement, sounded in fear and unforgiving pain. I reached for comfort, but nothing came in return. My options were running slim, and desperation was kicking in. I was thinking of a plan to escape when the scream stopped. All was silent besides the beating of my heart. I knew what I had to do. I knew, but I didn't follow. I resisted my instincts and went for the basement. As I opened the door, Every footstep felt like a lifetime. I opened the door. The inside was covered in blood and scratches. I looked around the long hallway, and at the bottom I saw something I wish I hadn't. Pictures on pictures of people who were murdered were layered on each other. My heart sank and died. I walked down the stairs and saw 2 portraits of my parents. I walked around and decided I would go upstairs and get help, but then I heard my dad's voice. He told me to get out of the house now and to leave him behind. On instinct, I ran up the stairs. On the way up the stairs, the eyes of the murdered people seemed to always be following me. As I got to the door, I looked at the blood. Instead of the gruesome splatter, there were letters. I read, Mom. The blood said, Mom. I panicked and opened the door. There, in midair, was my mother screaming, Am I perfect enough? I cried and said a prayer, but before I could say amen, the doll had already killed me. Nobody has ever seen me since then, and this piece is the last discovery of me. Nothing more will be found besides the endless bodies of the dead.